Welcome to episode 3 of What Would You Do If? Today we're going to talk about what would you do if a client called you up and asked you to go to a pitch but wasn't going to give you a brief.
So not willing to commit to a brief.
Not willing to commit to a brief or not written a brief. I think that if they give it you over the phone or they started to give it you over the phone but then didn't actually have a written down proper brief where I think they've not really thought about it a great deal.
Okay.
But they're out to 2 or 3 agencies.
Two or three would be a great start.
Yeah, typical story.
Yeah, I think it happens a lot more often than we'd like in the B2B agency space, in the sense of obviously we get approached from new prospects on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah.
And then whether or not that's accompanied by a brief and what that brief also looks like is an interesting topic, I guess. So. And it also depends on what you class as a brief, I suppose, is what you're saying, in the sense of there's verbal, there's written, there's a template, there's a format.
So my train of thought on a bit is, and I know we talked about it right at the start, is I think if you're a client and you haven't bothered to sit down as a team, as a business, and really think about what you want to deliver what you want an agency to deliver a pitch on.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, you're asking an agency to probably put the best part of, well, it could be anything from, we've spent sometimes £1,000 on a pitch, sometimes we spent £25,000 on a pitch.
Yeah, no, I think the typical cost of a pitch for BDB is somewhere in the region of 10 to 25 per, and I'm talking about a proper integrated, high value opportunity. So yeah, I think when you're asking the agency to commit that much time, mainly free of charge, because I'm assuming we're not getting paid for the pitch.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think we've got to cover that.
Well, very few people offer paid opportunities for pitches these days because the market's so competitive. But that is a point.
More and more though, in a B2C environment,
yeah,
you see more of the bigger brands pay for pitches, and I think we've just not transitioned in the B2B world.
Well, it's nowhere near it yet. I think if we turned around to any of our prospects and said it's going to cost you £5,000 or £10,000 or £20,000 for us to be around the table on this opportunity, whilst I think it gives you that gravitas and that kind of. I don't know. You could say it shows that you're confident in your ability and you know the type of opportunities you want to go for. I'm pretty sure 9 out of 10 opportunities would tell us to.
But what I'm saying is because there's more opportunities in the B2C world, so that means for the bigger brand pitches, I know because obviously my friend Helen works for them, and they get paid to pitch quite a lot.
Yeah.
But again, there's
maybe you can afford to be more selective potentially.
Well, there's more volume and there's more product-based stuff in their world. So I think that's why they can afford to be very, very selective and afford to get paid to pitch.
But I think looping back to the original question of if a client is refusing to produce a brief or a briefing document for you, I'd say that's one of my biggest learnings since moving into the agency space.
Yeah.
That if you rack up and look at the opportunities that we win, it's because there's been a brief, a clearly thought out approach that we can answer, and we know we're answering the right questions that somebody wants answering.
Yeah.
You look at the opportunities where we've hemorrhaged an awful lot of time, money and expense, where they've either gone cold at the end of that pitch or they've disappeared, gone off the radar, come back to you in a few months, projects get delayed. That's, well, I can say every single time there's not been a brief. I can say that confidently because we know that from the information we've got.
I think there's one or two things is that the company's either already got an agency that they've already given a brief to, let's say, because they're the incumbent agency. Which
is one of my biggest questions around who else is around the table these days, because if the incumbent agency, generally they're looking to go out to market because they're not happy with the incumbent agency, you assume.
But then you still write a brief on it.
Yeah, no, you would, but then if the incumbent agency is around the table, and this quite often you get, it's just out of courtesy, we can't not invite them, then how many times when there's not been a brief did they go with the incumbent agency? They're just after ideas.
That's what I'm saying. If you've got the two together, incumbent agency around the table
and no brief,
I pretty much guarantee
I'd run for the hills. Yeah, is my advice to anybody in that situation.
You're not going to win it. I mean, it'd be good to get into in the comments and of any agencies or any other people out there who've won pitches when that's been the case. But certainly in my time, I've wasted a lot of time pitching things where there is no brief and the incumbent agency runs.
But then I think you can also get a bit arrogant as an agency in the sense of what is a brief. So we expect this. We'll issue a template with a briefing document. Expect that to be beautifully filled in by the client, and we expect them to spend a couple of hours writing a brief for us. Well, they're exceptionally busy people as well, and they might think the verbal brief they've given us on the phone is is absolutely adequate. And that's up to the agents then to say either it's not, or qualify or ask the right questions to get the right information that you need. So we will do that quite often. We'll have our briefing template in front of us and work our way through it on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, we would do that, but again, I think we'd have to go back and look at those opportunities of then taking verbal briefs over the phone, because.
No, but I think those ones again, I'm echoing what you're saying there. Those ones again would form part of our pool of either gone cold or going colder, or probably not converted.
Yeah.
The ones that we win with confidence are the ones where there's a formal brief.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the ones recently, I'm obviously naming no names, but you look at I think 3 or 4 recently have been sub where we would usually play, if you like.
Yeah.
And all really haven't had in fact, not one of them had a detailed brief.
No, but we've had clients come to us recently, and these are large businesses, large global businesses, who say, we've got a new product launching. Can you help us with that? So we'll say, yeah, of course we can. And so what do you need doing? What do you want doing on that? What's the format? Well, we've got a new product launching. Can you come back to us with a proposal? We've had this literally in the last week or so, and you go in, what, where, what's the product, what's the USP of it? When's it launching? Where's it launching? Who are you trying to sell it to? Who's your market space? And in that kind of thing, we don't want to give it a half-hearted response, because we could go back with 10 bullet points of saying a product launch could involve X, Y, and Z. But that's not really where we operate, obviously. So,
see, I've had this conversation before, and I know we've mentioned it a little bit on a previous podcast, where is there an argument of writing charging the client to write the brief for them? Because there is a workshop there for me. That's the one thing that I'd say, there is a workshop there, and maybe not for. Maybe it's for another business. I think obviously I know a business that we've interacted recently, they'll go in and help them form a brief, and I think they offer a really good service where that's concerned. And I think there is a little bit of a gap in the market where agencies don't really offer to write a brief for that.
No, but I think that's it. And you look at, I'll name check it, but Go, or Gareth Oakling, the Go business transformation that he's kind of formed is all set around that offering, isn't it? And that kind of process of outsourcing and managing that entire pitch process. So using the networks they've got, using the agencies they know to bring the right people to the table for the right opportunity, to take all the admin out of that for the client, and then helping shape that brief, issue that brief, and run that process.
Time wasted is the key.
No, but as an example, the one we've worked on recently with those guys, the brief we received was really substantive. So from an agency perspective, it was great. Yeah. We had loads to go on. We're really clear what they wanted, really clear on KPIs, markets, objectives. So we could shape an entire proposition around that for them, and no, we've answered it. So if we don't win it, we don't win it, but we know we've answered the brief.
But also, I think from a customer's point of view, because again, there's nothing worse than not getting feedback, is there? So they can give feedback on what you didn't deliver, what they don't think you delivered on point against the brief they give you.
That's perfect.
That's perfect.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's when you don't win it, or it goes quiet, or whatever else it is.
Second. Oh, right.
That's the standard one, isn't it? Yeah. And then you realise you see your idea come to life in their next ad normally. Yeah. Which is equally frustrating.
Very, very frustrating. And that's the thing with, I think for me, is if the company have taken due care and attention, they put a lot of thought into the brief, and then give you if you look at the pitches that we've won recently, they've wrote a brief, we've then had a call, because we had a fact-finding call on digging deeper into that brief, because you've got to ask further questions, what really means most to them, what does success look like, and things that they've missed out in the brief that we'd have in our briefing document. Mm-hmm. And then that's what we've put our picture on, of clearly answering that bit. And other times we've had calls with other people in other departments to get their take on things, so we kind of know where we're going. That's what I would say to anyone listening to the podcast is, I think if you're out there pitching for business without briefs, one, I actually think that if you do win it, your work doesn't end up being that great anyway.
There's just a lot of guesswork involved, I think. And I think when you look at the quality of the output of the work, when you've got a clear brief to work against, you guarantee you put your best work out, hopefully, if you've had the right time to prepare for it and everything that you've answered it. When you're shooting in the dark, so to speak, when somebody's give you a cursory brief or a light touch conversation on the phone about what they want, you can't get to that same depth of knowledge. But my advice for anybody listening would be, if there's not a brief, then probably don't do it these days. Because what was the one was in the press a few weeks ago? The one that was,
oh my God, there's a Manchester agency.
Delighted to have won a competitive pitch for
it was B2C, and they'd won a restaurant brand in London. I can't remember that.
16 agencies.
16 agencies. I mean,
because that's the other thing. So I mean, we have a lot better now about qualifying the opportunity.
Congratulations to the agency winning, by the way. And that's
well
that's
done.
Going some. I'm not taking anything away from there. I just think that.
Do you think there were 16 agencies in the mix? Do you think any clients wasted the time courting 16 agencies?
I think you would. I think what they might have had an initial short list of a long list of 16. Surely been cut
the only way I can flip it is when I first joined BDB, they used about 7 or 8 and 9 even recruitment agencies. Oh, really? So for every brief we put it to 9 different recruitment agencies. And why are you wasting your time?
But again, though, from a client point of view, this is from an advice from a client point of view is you're not. If I know that I'm against 60 agencies, one, we wouldn't ever pitch for it anyway.
No chance.
But even if we're against, I mean, we had a conversation recently about 6, so we're like, should we go?
Yeah.
And it was a 300k plus opportunity, which we did end up winning.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, we did have that conversation, and you had the conversation with me.
I'm still sceptical whether 6 were in the mix. And this is an example of when you're second guessing yourself in the agency world and running pitches and so on. That we were told there were 6 other agencies in the mix for the opportunity, and then the prospect invested a lot of time with us, which was great. Loads of immersion, loads of insights, loads of time, loads of effort, telling us about the business, getting us up to speed with it and explaining it. And there was a brief, and it was coupled with really robust information around it. Yeah. And I found it hard to believe. I mean, if they did, fantastic, fair play to them for investing so much in that process. But I found it entertaining to think that they'd spent only 20, 30 hours on this pitch, briefing people.
But again, though, I think we kind of sort of compare ourselves a little bit to the other. I don't think other agencies were asked for that extra time.
No, maybe not. Maybe
sometimes.
Not. Yeah.
And that's the thing is, I think you, again, as a client, as a customer, putting a brief out there, you'll get some people who will go, right, yeah, I'll invest the time in that. You'll get others who just take a step back and go, I'll answer that brief. I don't need any more questions.
Yeah.
So I think that out of the 6 agencies, you could have probably whittled that down to 2 or 3.
But if your agency side, what's the optimum number? If your client side, sorry, I mean, what do you think?
No, I think if you let's say, for example, you're unhappy. Let's give you a scenario. You're unhappy with your current agency, or current agency's gone stale, and you're going out there with a, let's say, 100 grand a year plus opportunity.
Yeah.
For me, I would go out to the market. I'd probably go out to 5 or 6 agencies, and I would go out there and ask them to send their creds deck for their initial. And if they wanted to call, could have a call to present the creds deck for a little bit of.
No, we'll do that. We'll do that with anybody.
Anyone.
Unless it's in B2C or something weird for us. But anyone would do that with you.
And I think that from that call, you get a good feeling for, and also I think the another thing, obviously, the reason why we do the podcasts and we do these things is to make sure that we're answering clients' queries and stuff like that while we're doing the podcast. But you can do your research into the 6 businesses, what the directors are, turnover. One of the big things, again, we've talked about on a previous podcast, are they solvent? Are they earning decent revenue? So I think you'd get those 6. And for me, it would always be to either whittle that down to 2 or 3. You would never invite more than 2 or 3 to pitch.
So actually, the formal pitch process.
And I would be clear about this from day one. We're inviting 6 people to present creds deck.
Yeah.
And then we're going to whittle that down to 3.
I think we've also got a lot better if you're shortlisted to that second stage, 6 to the 3 process at the 3 stage, not giving away the keys to the kingdom, as we'll call it here, and the ideas. And I think you win or lose. You can win or lose very easily on that basis.
We've had a few recently. I think when I was having a conversation with Jen the other day when you were away pitching, funny enough, and It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one because you're always second guessing yourself and second guessing other agencies about, do you present creative? Now, if you were...
The weird one last week, they specifically asked for creative. So in the brief, it was very clear they wanted 3 executions for each of their 2 markets they wanted us to look at across their one product.
But dangerous though, isn't it? It's dangerous, even though they asked for it.
No. But you either decide, don't you, isn't it? Well, we're not going to show you any creative. Yeah. Well, it's in the brief, so you've not answered the brief.
Yeah. But I think
or you do, and then...
But I think that's where, again, it depends how ballsy you are, really.
Yeah.
Because you could have gone at that point, actually... Again, it's a double-edged sword. You could have gone to the client, look, we believe in our process that much that we would never present creative.
Which wholeheartedly
goes against our process.
Yeah, it does. But then sometimes when you know who you're pitching against, you know they're going to turn up with creative. Yes. And it's very rare we know who we're pitching against, because normally it's in territory suppliers as opposed to, like more national or international people, UK based, but this particular opportunity was a UK based pitch, let's call it. So we knew who we were up against. One was primarily a creative agency, and one's one of the larger networks agencies.
So you're gonna,
you know they're going to rock up. They'll put a lot of resource behind it, and they're going to turn up with that creative that's been asked for. So for me, in that situation, if we didn't turn up with creative,
you've got to go with it.
You probably lose it on that basis because somebody else will.
Yeah.
And whilst it might not be the final creative, which was kind of the route we went down, and this is showing you in the toe dip exercise research that we've done, this is where we could take it. I think we had to turn up with something on that one. But I think going back 12 months, we were horrible about giving away everything.
Yeah.
We used to virtually do the proposal. Yeah, as in the proposal would be the plan.
But then you like there's nothing else to come. It's like taking a girl on a first date to a 3-star Michelin restaurant. You're only
do you not do that now?
You're only going downhill from there, aren't you?
Yeah. I can't say I've ever done that, but yeah.
No, I haven't either.
No, but I think that
you just take her out for a coffee and
you've got to build up from there. But no, I think that's kind of the principle to it. I guess if you've got nowhere to go, because I think then almost you're almost retrospectively charging a client as well. Because quite often you show them an idea and they go, we really like that, and you'll go, great, that's 10 grand. I'm making up numbers, and they go, well, you've done that though, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's part of the pitch. Like,
we like that.
Yeah, we like that. That's why we'll take that. And you're going like, well, you've got to pay for that now. And then again, IP conversations and all that kind of stuff. But I think it's just a really interesting dilemma, and one that we still continue to face on a daily basis of, is there a brief, yes or no? And you know now, if it's not a brief, I won't look at it, and I won't look at it anymore because it's just wasting our time.
So we had a conversation this morning, when I come in this afternoon about money. Because I think that has another yardstick in terms of where we are as an agency. Because I think that it's to pitch or not to pitch with a brief, but also I think there is a few yardsticks of where we've kind of come into a decision as an agency. And I think any agency out there, whether you're a start-up or whether you're medium size or you're a national agency, I think you've got to have those yardsticks of where you are as an agency, where you pitch yourself, because we waste a lot of time on. Not anymore, but don't waste a lot of time on not pitching people with briefs anymore. Or we have done again a little bit recently. We need to get out of that habit. But even on the money side, I think it's
on that point. It's a really easy habit to fall back into.
Yeah, no, it is.
Because you're chasing that dream, you're chasing that new business, the win, and everyone likes the thrill of the chase. And before you know it, you're 3 or 4 conversations into something, and then you've already hemorrhaged a bit of time. You've overly committed.
So you're like, well, I'm in now.
And you almost feel like you can't say no sometimes as well, because you're 3 or 4 conversations in, and then when you look back at it a month later when it's gone quiet or whatever it may be after you've done a proposal or a first meeting, there's no brief. It's always the thing. There's no brief, and it was an inbound conversation. You've opened up a conversation with somebody. They've kind of in a meeting articulated roughly what they want.
Yeah, and also as sales. July and August are usually slow months, so you're like, oh well, I'll try and fluff up the pipeline with a few things. There's other pressures, isn't there, when you go, no, do you know what? He's a really sound guy, sound guy, girl, whatever it is, or no, he's one of our friends of friends, and it's like, no. My
favourite one normally in this scenario is, oh yeah, but they've got great potential. So like out of acorns and oak trees and all that, those wonderful sayings. I've never seen many oak trees from acorns yet. In any respect of any industry I've worked across. If something's small, I'm not. Things do grow and they get a lot bigger, but you're talking about needle in haystacks there, really, in terms of those opportunities that really do grow, that you can say you've nurtured from its infancy into this amazing business.
I challenge any business that goes from acorn to oak tree and stays with the same agency. There's just absolutely no way. So what happens is
you might get projects and a bit of a loyalty and a bit of a kickback and a bit of that kind of thing.
Most of the time,
you see that in the legal world and the accountancy world. Is what I'm thinking. In professional services, you see that a bit, that they'll give somebody like the property work or something because that was the guy that supported him right from the off. But particularly in the marketing space, I think you've got to define your market and what is your sweet spot.
You're shifting through the gears, and I think the marketing agency that you start off with is not if you go from 400 grand turnover to 2 million turnover, let me tell you, you're not staying with the same small boutique agency because, and also
also vice versa.
Yeah.
If you're a big boy, big player, and then
but also
got to come the other way.
The agencies change. The people leave, creatives leave, different people leave. So there's so much at play that as a client you can't ever say, oh, we're going to bear with us, we're going to be massive. It's like, well, I don't deal in 5 years because you don't know where you'll be and I don't know where I'll be.
No, but we've had that with clients. It's funny when you live live now. You replay some of the conversations you've had. We had a client say, were we willing to go on a journey with them? Remember this one? Like almost like no win, no fee. You know, like where you put it on the metrics, and if we hit the metrics, we'd get paid. You're like, I find it
crazy.
It's crazy, but it's also quite rude, I think, to think that somebody's going to do that with you. Like if you're paying for somebody's expertise, and I've read an article on this on Forbes, I think it was the other day, that one of the girls, Holly Jobbins, shared internally with me. I was forwarding it on to you. But in the sense of it was all around the cost of somebody's expertise, so the qualifications they've got, the ongoing training they do, the reading they do, and everything to immerse themselves and make them the expert in that field, then to ask to pick somebody's brains for free, which is kind of what the article was all focused on. It's an interesting one. It's completely inappropriate.
I think that is a great analogy for when you asking an agency to pitch with no brief.
Yeah.
Because all you're really saying is, can I pick your brain for some ideas?
No, it is. It is.
For free.
Yeah.
Because we'll do it. And I was having a conversation with another agency owner when I go to my B&I group, and he was so angry because he'd pitched somebody that 2 weeks previous, and he'd done the same. He'd had a sort of a brief, big pitch, big promise, and new marketing girl came in after they pitched the previous one, and literally the day the campaign was supposed to go live, he'd done loads of creatives and loads of amends, all that kind of stuff, but not got anything signed. And the new marketing girl just went, no, I'm going to go with the agency I know well. And it's like, it's a big lesson to learn. And he was saying, which is really, really quite poignant actually, what we're talking about is, he said, I remember, and you'll remember this from an accounting point of view, when the agency first started off, it was like 60-day payment terms, and then someone went one day, no, it's 30 days or 14 days or 50% up front.
Yeah.
So taking 50% up front and 50% on completion, and that is industry standard, and that's what we're doing.
Yep.
And every agency went, all right,
we'll jump on that bandwagon.
And I think that agencies have got to take that standpoint where there's almost like an unwritten rule of what should happen if you want us to pitch, because it'll help us all out, not just everyone.
It will, but it's like this ideal world, isn't it? That you're never going to get the situation. You'll always get somebody that'll undercut you, or somebody that will do it cheaper, or somebody that will do it for free, always, because we are in a touch wood, I think that is wood. You know, at the minute, unfortunately, we've got a great client bank and all that kind of thing, which gives you that kind of leeway to think about, do you want to do that opportunity? It's not always been the case, but you know, that's a fantastic position to be in. For many agencies that are smaller or starting up or in their infancy in terms of a business journey, they can't afford to. They're clambering for work. So that kind of chest out, well, sorry, I'm not going to give that away for free, and I'm not going to give you my ideas, and I'm not willing to pitch without a brief.
Hard lessons are in it, as we know.
Really hard, but you've got to hope you win enough and convert enough to kind of survive those days, I guess, in a way.
What do you think the answer is then? Do you think there is an answer, or do you think it will always be the way it'll always be?
I think the answer for an agency is know your space. Know what type of client you want. Know what size of business you want to attract. Know what sectors you have a sweet spot in. Know what service streams you've got a genuine expertise in. And then qualify the opportunity is what I would say. So if somebody comes to you and they're in your industry, they're in your sweet spot, you genuinely think you can win it, ask how many agencies, which a lot of people don't do. Ask how many people are involved in the pitch. Ask about the process. When are you going to make a decision? Yeah. Ask about the decision makers.
And also, I think the big thing is, and I remember listening to Spencer Gallagher do a talk on this, who helps a lot of agencies, Cactus. Really good guy. He wrote the book Agencyonics. I can't even get it out. Agencyonics, which is a really good book. And he was saying, it was really good actually, if they don't tell you who you're pitching against, it's the same rule as the brief or not brief.
Yeah.
If they don't tell you pitching against, do not pitch it.
Well, I never understand. I mean, I totally get the point, but why wouldn't they tell you? What have you got to lose out of telling you? What
I'm saying is, you know how many times you've asked and they've gone, no, we can't tell you.
I also know how many times we haven't asked. That's the different thing. So in the sense of, quite often we'll bowl into it and how many agencies, and they'll go 3, 4. I know very few times, very few people have actually asked the follow-up of who? because it's people think you can't, and what's to lose?
It's really important on a couple of levels. You want to know if the current agency is pitching.
Definitely.
For many reasons. One being, as somebody in the business got a relationship with them, because what happened
how did they get on the ticket in the first place?
I was getting the ticket first, and I lost a pitch when I was working for another agency.
Wasn't the one you lost to us, was it?
No, it wasn't. That way, it was the guy's wife who got him in.
Yeah.
So like we were never going to win it.
Yeah.
And if I'd have asked it and gone, well, you're married to the you just wouldn't have ever pitched it.
Well, that's one of the ones when you sit there kicking yourself afterwards, isn't it? But...
Or there's a relationship there. We've had it before, haven't you? Where there was a relationship there with the business, and you can connect the dots when you know what you're doing.
But I think that's where it comes back to who's the decision maker, and you can't always quite get it right. But quite often, you might in the agency, where you might be speaking to a marketing executive or a marketing manager, when you know there's a marketing director or a CMO in position somewhere, and then you find out it is a spouse or somebody else somewhere down there. You can't necessarily account for that.
No.
But I think you can work out the process, who you're speaking to, what level, how long the process is going to take, when you're going to make a decision by, and that kind of thing. Because I think if you're clear on that, you're clear on the process, you're clear on the people, you're clear on who's involved and who you're up against, then it's at your discretion. It's, whoever is in the box seat needs to make that decision of will you pitch without a formal brief. Because I'd love to sit here and say, well, we'll never pitch again without a brief. We will, if it ticks those boxes, and if I think there's enough positives to take out of it, probably we'd look at it, and then I'll probably sit here and justify it to myself that it's an emerging sector, it's something I want to get a foothold in, or something which in reality probably means we shouldn't be doing it. But
and just quickly touching on it, because only because it's prevalent to what we're talking about, is post pitch, or during pitch. I remember going to a pitch once, and they had a scoring system. It was amazing.
Yeah.
This guy was like, I think because he'd been in procurement before, he was like, no, we score every agency, so it's ultra fair. So you don't ever get that. Oh,
that's great.
You're second because everyone gets told that who's been in the pitch.
I've never come across that ever.
I've come across it once, and he scored it, and he scored everything, sent it you, and really, really funnily, there was 4 agencies in the mix, and we came second, but still won it because of the way they scored it. They as a group
like benchmarked it all or whatever.
Scored chemistry as a higher mark.
Oh, yeah, weighted to different aspects.
It was weighted to a different area. So even though we come second, we won it, and it was a really, really, really interesting way of doing it, and a really fair way of. When you as an agency, you've got the scorecard before, so it was additional to the brief saying, here's what we're going to be really, really drilling you on. Yeah. And this is what you're going to be scored against. Yeah.
It's interesting. You just don't come across it very often, because I think typically you'll also find the process. If they won't invest in the briefing process, they're definitely not going to invest in a debrief with you. They tend to just disappear.
Well,
they ghost you for months afterwards, and you're chasing them down, and eventually you close off the lead in whatever system you're using. Yeah. But I think the interesting one on that point again is like how often as an agency do you actually close a pitch, if that makes sense? And by what I mean, you're in the pitch, you get to that final slide, you've got that sigh of relief that says thank you, that you've just come through an hour or a 2-hour presentation or whatever it may be. I don't know, I've never seen many people actually say, so what are the next steps here, where we're going to make a decision off the back of this, and actually sales close a pitch. So if you're not going to go with us, what opportunity would we be going with, when can we expect you to make a decision, and kind of being a bit more.
I know, but what I always find in the agency world is they don't ask those, they don't ask.
No, but I think we've both got thank you. Get through the pitch, get out the door, everybody goes, good job, guys, did really well there, and then it just disappears and sails out, and that for me is the craziest thing about it. And I think if you've invested a lot into a process, and particularly the size and scale of some of the pitches we're doing these days, you're well within your rights to ask why you didn't win it, and also who won it, and the reasons why. So there's only 3 quick questions, and you can probably do them in 5 minutes on a call with somebody. But I don't think it's unreasonable to ask that.
It's just like when you don't get a job, isn't it? When you go for a job interview and you don't get a job, then.
Yeah, but how often do you get feedback from that? So it's the same thing, isn't it? So it's that kind of premise and principle, I guess.
Yeah. But okay. Well, I guess that's it for today's episode. Do you want to give people a bit of a flavour?
If there's no brief, don't pitch.
Yeah, if there's no brief, don't pitch.
No, but that's. Or if there's no brief, certainly give a lot of consideration to whether you're pitching. And I think that qualification side of that opportunity is the big thing, really. Whether there's a brief or no brief, qualifying the opportunity.
And also, I think it's about asking the right questions pre, and then the right questions during after the after the pitch.
And I think if you are a business out there who's pitching out opportunities, if you want agencies worth the salt with the real ability to help you to take a pitch seriously, then invest the time just shaping a brief up. And it doesn't need to be huge, but at a minimum, what you're looking to achieve, what deadlines, and give a budget. Yeah. Maybe give a budget away as well. That helps sort of shape the actual opportunity as well.
Budget's another little cheeky subject.
That's a whole different topic and a whole different podcast. But
so get us on YouTube. Obviously, listen to us on the podcast. We're on all the different channels. And we're on the Knowledge as well, aren't we?
Check out our Knowledge at www.b2bknowledge.com, which is our online content hub to help clients and prospects navigate the B2B marketing landscape. So.
And also, we'd love some comments and feedback in terms of what you're thinking of the podcast / vlog show. So that would be really good. And any future subjects that you want us to cover, that'd be great.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Bye for now.
Cheers.